in order to go to the next level of things, there's friction, there's pain, there's growth. And I think running reminds you of that. And I think business reminds you of that a lot. And so instead of that pain feeling bad, it feels good because you know
Mm.
something great is coming after it. And so I think it's just changing your mental perspective of like,
Mm.
wow, it's really happening, not, oh, it's falling apart. Because I think in these moments, everything is falling apart and coming together at the same time. And that's beautiful, you know?
I mean, so you say when you jump on the call, you said you're tired.
Yes.
Give me a bit more context.
Man, right now I have a lot going on the business side, right? So I would even say sometimes that's impacting the running a bit just because my mind is very deeply involved in like business stuff right now, right? We're doing outbound. So I have some clients on the WhatsApp side of Aiden, which is like this onboarding, basically onboarding and remote health monitoring. But then on the other side, I created this insurance product. I met with the VC out of New York last night, right? But I was up till
You
what?
cut out on my side. I can't hear you right now.
Can you hear me?
Oh, you're back. You're back now.
Awesome,
Sorry, mate.
awesome.
That cut out for a second. So you said you created an insurance product. That's what I got lost.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I've been working on this insurance product, and there's a company, there's a venture firm out of New York who has a similar thesis, right? And so I had a call with them last night that went pretty good, but it's also now like I was up till what 1:30 a.m. because I'm thinking through there's different regulations, there's different it's a lot of different things going on. So it's a lot of positive momentum in the right direction, but the cognitive load
Mm.
right now is insane, especially when you're talking about, you're running 115, 120K a week. And then after that, you're going into these like, very deep uh, mental exercises as well, right? Mostly thinking through strategy, thinking through what what's even going on because it's a new category,
Mm.
prioritization, all of that type stuff, right? So yeah, but I told myself, and on LinkedIn, everybody's talking about work-life balance and oh, like there's this thing called like 996. You work 9 to 9, 6 days a week, and everybody was talking about, oh, I can't work out because I'm tired mentally and blah blah blah. But I realized, and one thing we talked about was training your cognitive endurance. So how do you push through in these moments to increase your overall threshold, right? So yeah, it's hard now. It's difficult, but maybe next year this time, right? I'll be like, oh yeah, just got off VC meeting, client call, and we just did 3 by 10K. You know what I mean? But it's like you have to keep
Mm.
building that threshold. And it takes time to build that. And I think you can't get too frustrated when you are going through some of these intense moments, but you're just kind of growing into that next phase of potentially what you asked for in life.
Yeah, I think that's a good point about building cognitive endurance is similar to building physical endurance. You have to put those reps in. But what I think we can look at is understanding our efficiency. Like with anything like our running economy, what is our mental economy? How are we
A hundred
balancing
percent.
that energy? Um, and sometimes case in point, I'm not saying this is you, I'm saying this is just generally what we see a lot of people do, especially when it comes to like competitions and race day. We spend a lot of time stressing and worrying about anything or everything and anything that could happen. And as we get to that starting line, we're already exhausted because we've been stressing and worrying and ruminating about all these potential outcomes. So we know without a shadow of a doubt, like we can mentally like drain our energy, which also leads to some physical symptoms of fatigue too, right?
Yeah, a hundred
So
percent. That's why.
what we want to make
Uh,
sure.
I'm sorry. No, no.
That's
So
all
I've
right.
been
You go.
thinking about that a lot. I've been thinking about that a lot because, I said the whole point of this is training to heart rate and heart rate variability, HRV, right? Last night I was up late. I was like, hey man, all you got in you today is a strength session and a bike. Just get that done.
Mm.
And then tomorrow, and then tonight, get some good rest and then go back into training. Maybe you make up for some of this on Saturday, right? And not even make up for it like it's punishment, just like, hey, there's always Saturday. You're not hurting yourself, right? You might be hurting yourself trying to push through in this session. Just do what you can, do what your body is asking of you, and make sure you absorb everything to then go to the next level. So I'm not even I'm not even that frustrated with myself on that because I keep thinking about this as the founder athlete operating system and how I'm constantly going to have to keep, and you and I even talked about this, how you're sometimes one outweighs the other. That might be a season,
Mm.
that might be a day, that might be, whatever it may be, but you have to keep constantly just trying to get in flow of that until those thresholds keep building, building, building. And then it's a little bit more balanced out. But this is what I wanted to do, you know?
Yeah, and I don't think like when people talk about the balance, right? And you're saying that being a conversation on LinkedIn, and we spoke about it, the feeling, finding balance in the imbalance, I guess, almost, or what is outwardly perceived as imbalance. Let's say that, as long as it's tied tightly to your intrinsic core values, then it's balance for you, right? That's your perception of balance. So that's all that matters, especially in this season. So, but what we do want to make sure we're doing, as I sort of noted there, is making sure that we're being as efficient as possible, and making sure that there aren't any energy drainers that are involved. So, for example, well, if we've got all of these stressors that are coming from the founder side right now, and they're seeping over into a little bit of like the athlete side, how much is seeping over and how much can we make, like, and okay, some of it is fine to seep over because like you said, it might be a heavy emphasis on that right now, but how much is can we actually maybe sort of cut out, and can we build some strategies to actually diffuse that beforehand? So I guess my question to you is like, how has this work schedule been impacting the runs? Has it been overthinking? Has it been like fatigue from those high intense thinking sessions beforehand, or does it carry into the workout?
It's maybe a little bit of both, right? Sometimes it's just like the cognitive load does make you tired, right? Um,
Mm.
and then some of it is just thinking. Like, you're in deep thought,
Mm.
which isn't as bad, right? I did a long run this past weekend and I was in deep thought the entire time, so it was therapeutic for me, you know? So, yeah, I think it kind of goes up and down, right? Sometimes it might impact the running like today, right? Where I didn't do my speed session. I just I just did the bike ride and the weightlifting, right? So that's okay. I still got something out of it, and I think that just goes back to the 2% better mindset stuff. Is the thing that I keep saying that keeps me back rooted to that grounding is, all right, we're just 2%. Like that's all I had today. You know what I mean?
What's the forward
So
move?
it's impacting the running,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
Mm. Okay, cool. So we're not seeing any sort of thoughts come up on the runs that are, so they're like you said, like some thoughts are good for the deep thinking's good for long runs. But how about like high intensity sessions? Like, are those thoughts still coming up in those ones, and are they actually not as helpful?
Yeah, I think that's sometimes in the high intensity sessions is like because you have to be more present in those sessions because you're hitting certain
Mm.
paces and your form and all that. So sometimes lately, honestly, I've been pretty good in those. Today was a speed session, but I was like, I just don't have that in me right now, right? Especially I'm running on like a lot of hills, so it's like every speed session is hard, every single one, right?
It's cut out a tiny bit again. Oh, you're
Oh,
back.
can you hear me?
All I
Yeah.
got was you didn't. Yeah, I think it just cuts out every now and then for a brief second. So I can see you doing things still, but then the audio falls out.
No.
So can you just
Yeah,
repeat that
it's
again if
it's been
that's
a big
okay?
storm. It's been a big storm here, so maybe some of the infrastructure is a little off. because there was like a landslide maybe an hour away from here, and like 20 something people died. So it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh
I mean,
man, that's horrid.
last night, last night the storm was crazy to the point where I mean, I was in my room like, what the? Yeah. I mean, actually, going back to the call, I had to do the call last night in the dark. I just had a flashlight on my face while I was talking to the PC. So I'm sitting here, the lights on me, there's a shadow behind. It's crazy. So I think going back to stressors as well, right? Is there's also a lot of external stressors here naturally, just by the way you live, right? The power will go out every day, at least once for maybe 30 minutes to an hour, right? It's been raining the past 10 days. So, you know, that messes up things. The internet, right? Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's a bit wonky lately. So that hurts
Mm.
productivity. So some things that are low friction are sometimes high friction here, right? So that causes a little bit more external stressors that I know will be cut out soon. When I
Mm.
leave training camp and all that. But these are things also that I'm thinking through as I continuously build this next company as well, right? Like, what does timing look like here? What do I need when I'm here, right? So there's a lot of factors that are I think positive to sort out, but not easy to work through in the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, I mean, those things all pile up, which I guess is also quite a good thing. Almost inadvertently training for a race where you have a lot of those external stresses that are out of control. Um, that you have to just flow with.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I think it's good. It's just also part of the cognitive load indirectly, right?
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
so yeah.
Are we processing those things okay out of interest, or are they sometimes holding on to some of those things a bit too much?
No, I'm past it now. I'm like, if the lights go out, I'm like, cool, man. I know this is it. Um, so I'm pretty happy with things at the moment. And then also where things are going more so. I think we have like some pretty good momentum with the company. In running, running is still going well, right? It's not like bad. Like running's going well, training's going well. I'm healthy, which is positive. I'm running more consistent miles than I ever have. I've done more long runs this block than I ever have, especially these 20 and 22 milers, which also is cognitively different for me because I'm like, I've done 5 to 6 20-mile runs this block. That's crazy. I've never done that, you know?
Crikey.
Um, so I'm
Yeah.
feeling stronger as well. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. It's just like I feel like right now is the time where I'm moving to that next level, just in running and business and everything. Because even the way I'm talking through the ideas, the way customers are coming in from code outreach, I'm like, all right, you have something good on a lot of fronts, and going into 2026, you're building the momentum to become this athlete CEO that you wanted to be, right? But I think the hard part is, well, for a lot of people, luckily I've been through this journey before of building a company, not so much intense on the running side, obviously, or any physical activity. But I think that in order to go to the next level of things, there's friction, there's pain, there's growth. And I think running reminds you of that. And I think business reminds you of that a lot, right? And so instead of that pain feeling bad, it feels good because you know
Mm.
something great is coming after it, right? And so I think it's just changing your mental perspective of like, wow, it's really happening, not, oh, it's falling apart, right? Because I think in these moments, everything is falling apart and coming together at the same time. And that's beautiful, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's like you know that this is part of the process. You've been through that process. You know that it's all contributing towards it. That's great. I just want to circle back to when it cut out a second ago when we were saying about the high intensity sessions. We're saying about having to be a bit more present during those ones. And we're talking about how like maybe some of this mental fatigue, like the overthinking, some of the thoughts can be a bit distracting there. Do you remember what you finished off by saying when it cut out?
Yeah, I was just saying, but I think I'm getting like used to that, and I think that's just
Okay.
building the threshold, right? So, and I think some of these external stressors, like, I mean, I had my coach here for a long time, right? My friend
Mm.
from Tanzania was here after Nairobi Marathon. There was like, there's a lot of turmoil happening in, Tanzania as well. So there's all these things happening, around. So I think it's some of that too, right? You're making sure everyone's good. Um, so that's like a whole nother added responsibility, elevated responsibility. And I'm trying to
Mm.
just move through those things because those are just normal life things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair enough. But I mean, it's going to contribute, right? So as long as you're processing it
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
like if that's not the case, feel like please do share. I mean, I think it's ordinary for that stuff to sometimes stack up, and even though that, like say, it's a normal thing, and it's small, but when you add a lot of those small things all on top of one another, um, it can become too much. So yeah, if that's the case, feel free to share. But if you're processing it fine, then again, we don't have to give it too much more power. That's fine.
I think my mental capacity is like in a good place right now. Like it's not like, and I think this is the important thing is just because your mental capacity is good doesn't mean everything's going great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It just means that you're able to withstand more, which is good because if you can withstand more, you can do more, you know?
mm,
And so I think that it's just fully embodying and becoming the person that I want to be, right? It's like I'm not, I think the biggest thing is if I tell people everything that's going on, they'll be like, wow, like you have a lot going on. But for me, I'm not really stressed. I'm just aware. You know what I mean?
mm,
Like
yeah. Well, at least
I'm
you are.
aware of all these
Because
things.
some people are.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So like if I do feel overwhelmed, I'm like, it's probably this thing. Let me kind of simmer that down, right? But right now I'm like, okay, cool. Like you can handle the pressure and all this type stuff. But as soon as you're like, okay, like this is a little too much, you just have to scale something down just a little bit until you're ready to bring that back up, right? And so I think that's just the constant balance that I'm learning, man.
nice. Well, look. So I want to. We will circle back to something you said earlier, but before we do that, I just want to do a little bit of a update on what happened from last session, which we spoke about pooling together some confidence evidence so that we can overload that side of the equation, right? And we can later down the line when we're a bit closer to race week, we'll start attaching some of that evidence to specific scenarios. So just wanted to know how has it gone over the past week doing that sort of mining for diamonds strategy you spoke about and pooling together that data bank of confidence.
I think it's gone well, mostly because I do it more frequently. And luckily, people around me are doing it for me too. So that helps, you know?
Nice.
Because I think
Mm.
right now, if I have a if I have a speed session, sometimes I'm like, man, those hills really kicked my ass. And then my trainer, then my pacer, Evans, he's like, Carmichael, you couldn't do this last year. You're making a lot of progress, man. Because now we're hitting the hills at sometimes 340 pace, 330 pace, and I was not doing
Sorry,
that
mate.
last year, right?
Can you hear me
Can
now?
you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, you cut out for literally like there was like 10 seconds you cut out for. So sorry. You basically said
No
that
worries.
the people around you are doing it too. You said about the hills being hard, and your coach said, and it was like cut out.
Yeah, so the hills have been hard, but my pacer this year has said, "Hey man, you're making a lot better effort like on the hills, right?
Mm.
Now we're hitting them at 340 and sometimes 335 and all these type things. I couldn't do that last year, right? So going back to learning velocity, which I think is a good thing, a good measure of progress, is that mining for diamonds to me translates to learning velocity, right? So I'm constantly looking for those small wins now all the time, right? Like even yesterday, the VC meeting, okay, great. Like uh to me, I'm like, okay, I'm always thinking, oh, I can improve here, right? And I'm like, hey, the small win there is your idea was captivating enough to get the meeting, right?
Mm.
And they want to learn more about the idea and dive deeper into the strategy. Like that's a huge win, right? It doesn't have to be, oh, they just gave me 5 million for the next round, right? That doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be as binary. It's just, hey, we are making
Mm.
steps forward in the right direction. So those exercises have been going extremely well. I think that may be what makes me so calm because I'm like, hey, man, it's not going to happen overnight, but things are happening, you know,
Mm. Yeah.
and just,
Well, I
and
think it
everything, right?
goes. Mm. I think that goes back to what you said earlier. When you said, let me just get it up. You said about the fact that like this is proof that like you've done this before. You've already got proof that this after this work that we achieve what we're meant to achieve. So we know that by putting these inputs in, we know that feeling these sensations, we know the outcome, what's going to happen. I think it's good to tie sort of progress to things like that, and like because if we just tie it to the outcome may not happen for a month to a year,
Yeah.
like 2 years. So we're never going to be validated until that outcome actually occurs, which we know is going to take some time. And in the meantime, we could have ended up dropping off, our motivation could fall, and we just never actually see it through. So yeah, I think what makes you calm is knowing, like, almost like reassured, right? Reassured that I am doing the right thing, and we find that in the actions. And then when we also align that with all the work that we did on identity stuff, and we tie the identity, and we see that that's paired with the actions every day. So at least I'm making identity-driven choices. It means that I have faith and trust in the identity that I've set myself. So all the little choices that fit underneath that, if I can see that I'm doing that, then I can have confidence in the fact that I'm going to achieve what I want to achieve because I have confidence in the fact the identity will get there in the end.
No, exactly. Exactly. And I think that like when you have, when you, when you are pushing through and you feel that way, the world reminds you of it as well. And I'll tell you why I say that. I told you it's been raining here. I was going on a run and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to run. And because I'm like, oh, it's raining. The clouds were crazy. It was like moving everywhere, right? And I said, you know what? Go run right now, but you must do it now, right? And so I go run. No lie. As soon as I stepped foot under the porch, it started raining, right? And so to me, that was the world saying everything is always in perfect timing, you know? So
Mm.
don't stress. Everything's always in perfect timing. So I take these subliminal messages from the world because I believe sometimes the world will whisper at you, but you have to listen to it. You know what I mean? And you're like, okay, I got you. It's time to keep going forward, right? Because like that was small, but to me, I'm like, it could have rained. I wasn't even gonna run. I ended up getting the run in. Literally, as soon as I stepped in, it's pouring down rain. That's a reminder, like, don't second guess. Keep going. It's perfect timing.
Yeah, I like that because like the in a vacuum, the action in of itself, like you were going to perform, um, it's then this external information that then adds in another layer of processing, if you will, of like considering whether I continue with the action. And if we just see life in that in general, we have a choice that we make that is informed by the identity that we want to live congruently with, which we hope will lead to the outcome. But every single time that we make those decisions, like there's an extra layer of code that almost gets put in and processing that we have to go through in order to make that correct decision, and just builds up resistance almost. And I think like the reframe there is quite nice of like, well, maybe this line of code was coded if we're going for a matrix analogy
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
like maybe this line of code was put in for a reason, because when it comes to Valencia it's going to be pissing it down with rain and
yeah,
I'm going to link
maybe.
back to that
Honestly.
moment.
Oh, I thought about that too. I said, you know what? If it's pissing down rain in Valencia, I'm gonna be prepared because what?
Yeah.
I've been running in rain. I hate running in rain. You know what I mean? I hate when it's like very
Yeah.
cold. And I don't use hate lightly. I do not like it, right? So it's like I'm gonna be prepared, right? So all these things, I'm just looking at it as a way to equip me for the things I can't even fathom going into Valencia, right? And like I said, I feel good. I've never done this many long runs. I mean, I've never felt the first 10 days, 2 weeks, I was kind of down. I was like, man, I'm struggling up here. But I've never felt this strong at altitude. I'm thinking about when I come down from altitude, right? So, you know, if I do want to
Mm.
kind of, I do kind of want to, I was like, man, I need to get down from altitude. Because it's not an easy life, right? I'm just saying, it's just not.
Mm-mm.
And so I'm like, you know what? Just rough it out because you will like you have this perfect timeline that you're testing right now, and it's supposed to give you like the most optimal time frame, right? And that's what we're testing. So this is also a biohacking experiment too. So it's all these things are happening right now, right? Um, and yeah, so I think I'll be prepared ultimately is what I'm saying.
It's cut out again. Don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's cut out for a moment now. Okay, cool. Well, you're back again now as well. I think, yeah, just cut out after you said it's a biohacking experiment. So I don't know if you want to finish that thought or if that was the end of the sentence.
That's the main thing is this is a biohacking experiment, so we'll see how it all connects.
I think we cut out again there. I just want to
Dang,
finish that. Sorry.
man. Yeah. No,
I think
no,
I've got you
no, no,
back
I just
now.
said it. Yeah, I just said it's a biohacking experiment that hopefully it can connect.
Yeah, nice, awesome. Okay, so I mean, there's a few things there. I'm glad that you're starting to tune into that frequency and mine those diamonds as such, whether that's in business or in running. Um, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of that verbal persuasion bracket coming in that I spoke about the other week, which is like what people were saying, comments from a coach, from a pacer, and whatnot, which can be incredibly powerful. So nice to see that filling up. I think also like there's a clear tick of progression. You said about you've never done this many long runs, you've never been this strong at your altitude. Like those are all like, well, I mean, they're backed by data, but they're not necessarily like outcome focused stuff. That's all process based, like achievements that show in progress, right? So, I mean, that's great to hear. So, what I wanted to do, if it was okay with you, and hopefully if the Wi-Fi holds out,
Yeah,
for
fingers
the
crossed.
remainder of today, is I there was a limiting pattern that came up that I just wanted to touch on, and what you said earlier as maybe want to talk about it even more, which is about obviously a lot of things going on right now, um, which naturally is going to have an effect on our focus. And now, not to say you're not a focused individual, but like we spoke about, mental bandwidth only goes so far, and there's points in which it's going to be challenged. Um, and it seems like you're doing all the right things to reframe and process that overload of information, and those external things. So that's great. But maybe there's some more that we could do in terms of looking from a performance lens of like in like running sessions, how we can make sure our focus is shifting between the right zones. So one of your limiting patterns was, and I'm going to read it back to you, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it just now, having following obviously the work that we've done, and I guess just the position you're in now compared to this was 2 months ago. So the limiting pattern, the limiting pattern was rigid focus. While your focus on form is a strength, it can also lead to rigidity, making you less responsive to emotional cues and overall well-being. Now, that was the way that it sort of put that limited pattern together, but let's, I guess, just take rigid focus in of itself. I'm curious to know what your relationship is like with your focus. And I mean, I'm not just talking about like I'm focused, I'm dialed into my work. I'm talking about like your focus during like an actual, like during sessions or during a race.
I think overall, I would put it at like 9 out of 10, maybe 8.7 out of 10 in some of the sessions.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Right now, at least. I think overall, I'm pretty, especially deeper into the session. But on the onset of the session, it takes me some time to warm up for sure. You know,
Hmm.
it's just because, but I was even thinking about this yesterday on my run because I wake up in the morning and I start thinking about like different business stuff. I spend like an hour or two doing that, and then I go for a run. But on the easy runs, that's okay. On the harder sessions, I think my mind should be blank before I go into those sessions because it's like it's going to take a little bit more focus, right? So I am playing around with even what that looks like, right? Like, hey, those hard sessions, those hard days, it's nothing like very cognitively demanding before then, right? And maybe even after that, it needs to be more uh, kind of task-based execution or like maybe dreaming visionary type stuff, right? So I am trying to figure out what that flow looks like every day mostly.
Nice. I like that. I think that's a good sort of reflection. So I think that's what I'm trying to say. Like that extra bit of focus, like that you noted earlier, is that there is an element of like parts of things in life that the over analysis, the sort of the mind wandering, which I mean, it's not mind wandering in the sense of when it's applied to work, but when it comes to running, it is because it's not necessarily performance focused. That maybe we can look at. So, I mean, I want to sort of put something on your radar that might help with that processing, if that's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. So when we look at focus in a race or in running or in any sort of performance sport, I mean, a lot of people try to seek that elusive state of thinking about nothing almost, which in my response is, well, you're not thinking about nothing, you're thinking about something. You may just struggle to recall what that information is like after the fact, but also during it, like you've got to be thinking of something. There's so many things that you've got to process in your surroundings, let alone internally what you're probably thinking about. What I would like, there's a lot, right? So what I would argue is that the focus isn't on nothing, and the thoughts aren't. There's not like a blank head. It's more so that the thoughts are all working constructively towards the goal. So we've not got a reason to have anything. We normally flag things in our head when they're telling us something against what the flow of traffic, almost, if that makes sense. So they're the things that will flag up and be like, oh, there's too many thoughts going through my head. I'm distracted. I'm thinking about X, Y, Z. Well, when those thoughts are all goal directed, then we don't have a problem. So you are thinking of something. We just need to make sure that those things are all in the right flow. Now, I guess the flip side to that is when we look in a performance setting, we know that the best performances come from people being incredibly zoned in, almost, I guess, is what we say. So the best athletes in the world are very aware of their their heart rate, how their body's feeling, the environment around them, how they're navigating it. Obviously, different sports require different levels of focus and different zones of focus. So, for example, football, you'll be scanning around, whereas in a marathon run, like when, especially if you're out there, like maybe at the start you need some scanning, but like you don't need to be scanning your surroundings when you're just running on a straight stretch of road and you're all on your own. So, it does differ, of course, but we see that a lot in like the high performers. What we see a lot in sort of newbies and people that are new to or amateurs, I guess, is they will use that zone of focus, that sort of structured, very target-driven task focus, let's call it, but they'll also use distraction focus. Because that allows them to get out of their head when they start to overanalyze and they start to worry too much about maybe a pain that's starting to feel in their Achilles. And that for them is performance enhancing. Having a distraction is very helpful. And now we do see like the problem with that, I guess, if you stay in that frame of mind for too long, your pace slows down. Like think about if you're running on a treadmill and you start trying to change something, or like some music, or you're on your phone or whatnot, like you start to lose your step in a bit. Like your pace will drop, your heart rate may come out of whack, like your form may drop. So distraction zone isn't always a good zone to be in, like for the entirety of a race, but it may be good to slip into every now and then. What we see with elite performers is they manage to like flow between the zones of focus very efficiently. And when we talk about focus from the point of view of a long run, like it's not very demanding on the body, not very demanding on the mind. So it's something that we can just tune into that distraction focus a bit more, because it actually allows us to get through the run and do what we're doing, which is just a long run at a decent pace. We don't need to be pushing our body. We don't need to be taking in the signals from our environment and what our body's saying to adjust pace accordingly. Whereas in a fast session, we need to be away from distraction zone and into like the nuance of what's going on. What I would back that up to say is, though, we can get a hyperfixation, which we sometimes need to pull ourselves back from as well at times. So, I mean, before I go any further, does that kind of as a premise make sense? Can you see that applying in your everyday?
Yeah, 100%. I think like I said, I'm working on the transitions and moving into these different modes of the day and having a routine to move into those parts of the day, right? So I think that's even something with my coach and I. We're talking about how do I move, like what is my routine pre-race day? What is my routine before a run, after a run that is just like automatic? And I'm still figuring that out.
Mm. Mm. What what would you? So I guess yeah, it's like to almost like get you hyped up. I mean, imagery is a great tool to use to evoke that emotion, but there's a different imagery you'd use for a long run compared to like maybe a speed session. Like we want to try and if we talk about arousal states, we want to really spike our arousal for a speed session, whereas for a long run, we don't want that spike. Post training sessions, okay, I need to get back into doing some work, but I want to like just decompress and let myself go after it. Or is it a the run at the end of the day and you're going to bed? It's like I really want to just relax and zen out right now, you know?
I think it's all these different modes. All throughout the day,
Mm.
my days feel like 3 days in one
Yeah,
because I might
yeah.
wake up, have coffee, do a little work, think about something, maybe even a lot of times I'm looking at wearable data and then kind of making parallels with that and just understand human
Mm.
biology. Then I might go for a run after that. Well, not might. I go for a run after that. Then after that, I have to then kind of decompress a little bit, get ready to do some work stuff, maybe take some calls. Then I have to stop, get ready to go into another run, decompress after that, and then I might have a few more calls or at least some cognitive work that I have to do. Obviously, you want to like, luckily I have some pretty good friends as well, so I can chat with them, kind of take a little bit of the cognitive load off, and then I go to sleep. But that's like every day.
Mm. So what I'd like to maybe explore then is like some workouts that we can do on the app where we can help you mentally warm up or mentally cool down, based off whether
Yeah,
they're imageries, mindfulnesses, or I know we spoke about
the imagery
activities being
stuff
something that
works.
yeah, yeah,
But I like the imagery stuff in the app that's tied with breath work I did an imagery
Mm.
today as well, and it's cool, but I think that kind of the way I am, the breath work keeps me engaged, right? And not
Mm.
just listening to, because I'm
Mm.
like a hyper person. So when I'm doing the breath work, I'm like, okay, like you can't spend 5 minutes to do breath work right now. And so it keeps me just, and like the imagery does as well, because you have to think about things, but it's like, I think that active engagement is the stuff that
Mm.
I'm learning from these exercises is the stuff that really keeps me engaged. It's the act it's the activity with the imagery, or at least the coaching through that really helps me
Mm.
move into different phases of the day, right? Those are the best exercises on the
Mm.
app that I've used so far.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to explore. I mean, I'm just thinking about it out loud. Mindfulnesses are normally things that, like, I guess, a kind of imagery, but they demand a bit more of you because they put more on you to actually take in some things. Like, take a mindful moment. Let's actually reflect on some things. Whilst I'm talking to you and you're doing some breathing, like, then let's actually bring some things into the consciousness which we're evading right now. So I'm thinking, and then like the imageries that are like sort of like the breath works do have a little bit of imagery in too. I think, yeah, I'm just that's a really good feedback. I like that. Thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. I just started to notice that because sometimes like when it's the writing ones, I'm like, let me move to something more breath work focused, and because those are the things that like really help me just have a
Mm.
moment, right? Because if I have to like type something or add another thought to that cognitive load, sometimes I'm like, not right now. I need to just create some space, right? And I think also it's because we're
Yeah.
doing these sessions. It gives me a lot of time to reflect and think through things more on a verbal
Mm.
level and like a like critical level mentally. But when I'm in those,
Mm.
when I'm on the app, it's like a moment of pause for me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet. Well, that's good. That's really good feedback. That helps me just moving forward anyway. Um,
Definitely.
Sweet. Sorry, my brain went into a different direction there for a second.
I know. You're
But
like,
yeah, I think
wait, what can I put in this?
so yeah, so I guess being able to like upregulate and downregulate our energy can really help with our focus moving into different phases of the day. But I think is important to consider also is where I was going with that sort of monologue a second ago is the focus actually when we're in a session. So when we're actually running, like where is our focus? And like saying being able to cue that focus with certain things rather than it being left up to chance. It's like, okay, I'm in a race, I'm in a speed session right now. I need to make sure that I am like my focus is here. This is where it needs to go. If I'm in a long run session, then I can allow for a little bit more distraction. And then also an awareness and being mindful of where our focus is in that session at different points. Are we starting to float away from the right zones? Like, where are we? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the speed sessions, like when I'm in them, I'm in them. There's one I even recall right now. When my coach was here, we were doing like 4 or 5 by 1 mile on the track, and that last rep got hard. I mean, I didn't want to do it, right? And I was
Mm.
just like, just lock in, you're almost done. Just lock in, you're almost done. And it was the fastest mile that we did, right? So it was, I mean, I think we finished at like 5:50, 5:50, something like that. It was like a threshold
What
workout.
What were you focused on in
So
that moment?
five,
Out of interest.
uh, in that moment, I was just focusing on my breath, my form, and just putting one foot in front of the other, really. And
Mm.
just making sure I finish strong. Because I said, hey, the end of the marathon is going to be tough. Just keep focusing on one foot in front of the other. Every time it gets tough, like even on the long run, because at the end it's like 33, 34K. This last week was like hills, right? And then at
Mm.
the end, I'm like, oh, like push now, push. Like you're supposed to be tired at this point, right? So I'm just constantly keeping that mental state of it's going to be hard at the end, or if it is hard at the end, be ready to push, you know?
Mm.
Because I also have
Mm.
a mental image of me running through this street down. street in Valencia where I know I'm like 10K away from the finish line. But that 10K in my head feels like 5K as long as I just stay focused and I put one leg in front of the other. I believe I can get faster, and soon enough I'll see the blue carpet, right? I already have that image in my mind for Valencia. I'm like, I can see it like oh, the blue carpet is finally there. Let's go, you know? So it's like I'm prepared. I'm also having these situational mental conversations with myself, even what like weeks and weeks out, you know, of I'm like, okay,
Mm.
that blue carpet's coming up. Okay, cool. Like stay focused, you know? And I'm constantly trying to I know like I think the good thing is the way I look at the race day and now is runway. Go hard, go
Mm.
hard, go hard. Maybe if training is stressful, it's okay. If life is stressful, it's okay. But it's going to be slowing down by the time you get to the race, and then it'll pick back up. So I'm going hard with a lot of stuff now, so I can reduce that cognitive load, reduce a lot of the stress to go back and peak at the race, right? And I know that's coming. It's almost like a taper. I have to have a business taper and a physical taper every time I'm going into these races, right? So I can make sure my mind is sharp. I have to make sure my body is recovered well from altitude and just the whole block. So yeah, yeah, I'm thinking about all the I am doing a lot more visualization too. I guess because of some of the imagery exercises, because it's like think about a time when you and it's just so polite, right? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm doing that for myself now. I think on a more subconscious basis now, because I do
Mm.
believe that visualization stuff is important actually.
Mm. So what's that visual of the blue carpet then, out of interest? Exploring that a bit.
The
Like,
blue
what is
carpet is
that?
like the blue carpet is like that final stretch in Valencia where you know you've made it to the finish line. Like when you touch there,
Mm.
sprint, you're almost home, right? And so that's how
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it. I just know when I hit that carpet, it's just let's go, you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'm pretty pumped up about that, you know? And I didn't get to do that last year because I had so many stomach issues. I'm like, this year it's gonna feel like the first year I ran Valencia, I felt unstoppable, right? And so I'm like, yeah, it's time to
Mm.
get back to that first feel. Even right now, I'm like, ooh, I feel the PB in me already. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mm.
coming. I just
Mm.
I know the course. I know how to run it. Be patient. Like I'm feeling good, you know.
Nice. Well,
And, and,
what I want to do
and,
is
and,
like,
okay.
no, go for me.
No, I was saying in my head, it's like the race is so short, and then you get to the blue carpet. So it's like I'm gonna be so
Mm.
locked in, and then when I see that blue carpet, I'm like, wow, it's finally here. Like, great, you know. So at least for me right now, that's how I'm feeling, you know. And like I'm thinking about, okay, take that gel, okay, sitting well, good, okay, you know. I'm already going through these things this far out, just so I can be more confident and comfortable in the race, you know.
Amazing. That's great. Um, I mean, when we come to focus, I just want to put it back to that for a second. Is we spoke about a little while ago about like play and play being quite important, like Chardera's just like playing loose, playing.
Yeah,
I mean, when we think about different zones of focus, if we like go from like here, we've got like the body zone, like in the middle, where we're just focusing about everything in the body, whether it's the thoughts, whether it's certain sensations, how we're feeling, um, like pains or niggles or whatever we've got like going on in the body or strength that we might have. And then we come out a little bit further and we've got like the conditions. So that's taking in like the environment around us. It might also be data, like for example, like looking at our heart rate, looking at our pace, stuff like that. So moving out a bit further. All important information. And then another step further is we've got sort of the distraction based one. But again, distraction not necessarily being a negative word of like focus up, you're getting distracted. Distraction being it's just something that helps us to have play, right? Have that bit element of fun, that element of enjoyment. Take in the blue carpet, take in the people around us. That sort of zone is really important to activate during the race as well, because it takes us away from the seriousness sometimes of the race and actually pushes us further and gives us another boost of energy potentially. Um, so what I want to try and do is I want to start looking again, maybe beyond the scope of today's chat, but start looking at what do we focus on in those zones so that we can have cues to go flick between them rather than just getting stuck. Because if we get stuck in the body zone where we're just hyper analyzing certain thoughts that are running through our head, then we may get completely like fatigued by just stressing about different things that are running through our mind or a certain pain we're feeling in our leg. And when that happens, we need to move out to maybe the distraction zone completely to be able to just remove ourselves from that environment. So what's the cue to get us away from that thing that's tight in there? Alternatively, we could be in the condition zone where we're looking maybe a bit more around like the course. We're looking at our pace, our heart rate, which is fine because we need that data to make sure we're on track. But we start becoming obsessed and looking at the heart rate, looking at our pace way too much, looking at it far too frequently. Then where do we need to go? Do we need to go back into the body zone where we go to maybe some self of sort of affirming self-talk or some confidence-based statements that we can go back to, or some simple executions of skill of like focus on, I don't know, driving through your big toe. I just something random, right? I know that's something that I always go back to, or I go back to like the
Yeah,
computer, maybe.
yeah.
Or alternatively, like if I'm in the distraction zone and I'm starting to really drift off right now, like what can I do to come back in either to the sort of condition zone or into like the body zone? Because I've just spent way too much time out here right now. Um, does that make sense?
No, 100%. I literally just wrote down like what cues do you focus on in different zones? And running is all about different zones. You have zone one, zone two, zone three, and you're looking for different cues, which is your heart rate. So how do I look for those different cues that draw me back into like making sure I'm in the zone, if you will?
Yeah. Well, let's park it for this week, and I just want to leave you with that thought basically. And looking, especially when you go into like the speed sessions, it's like okay, I need to move out of like the distraction zone because that's information that's irrelevant right now, and I need to move into what is the maybe a condition zone or maybe into the body zone of like let's just get grounded in the moment right now for this rate for this training session, and then I can move back out if I'm on a long run, for example.
Yeah, that's literally what I say. I'm like, hey, like, especially in speed sessions, I'm like, you can't exit the speed session, so just focus on it because everything else doesn't matter. That's what helps me really lock in. I'm
Yeah.
like, nothing else matters right now. You can't get out of it, so just do it.
Mm. But then there's certain elements of like play that may be seen as a distraction, which could be really important. Like we spoke about with Child Darius, like certain elements that make it fun and enjoyable that actually boost us. So it might be worth even switching into that zone every now and then. That might be a simple thing like between intervals, like messing around with your training partner or like having like silly stuff like that. Just gives you another boost of energy rather than in the time where you're waiting between intervals, you're just like stoically standing there just focused on what's the next rep, like
Yeah,
that's
no,
not
no,
necessarily for some
no.
people
Sometimes I
they
do
don't want
have
to do
that
that.
play in between. I do have that play in between for
Yeah.
sure. Definitely, definitely.
Nice. Well,
Sometimes suffering
that's
though.
good to see.
Sometimes suffering. I'm like, oh, it's bad. It's bad.
I can imagine.
Especially up here, man.
All right. Yeah. Well, look, from my side, like Carmichael, I think that's class. Like, I'm happy with everything that we went through today. Was there anything that you wanted to chat through? Just as we
Oh,
wrap up.
this is good. I think these conversations too are helpful because I'm like, yo, I think I am trying to apply a lot of the things that you and I go through, and I think it's helping. Like I say this every session, but it is helping me, right? Even something you're like, hey, so how about that mining for gold? And I'm like, dang, I am doing that a lot more lately. I wouldn't do that as much. I'm doing that a lot more, you know? So
Nice.
yeah, man, I appreciate it as always.
No, again, appreciate your engagement, mate. Sweet. let's go into ahead of next week. Go in thinking about some of these shifting zones of focus and what are those things that you like to look at. We'll touch on it at the start of next week just see what they are, and maybe what we'll do is we'll start looking at creating some cues, and also some ways in which we can get ourselves ready for like shifts between like where it's getting ready for a session, getting ready like pre-race, pre-session, warm up, post-session, like cool down, stuff like that potentially.
That's perfect. Yeah. I think that's the main thing, is the cues and then also moving between all these different things. Like, what is the routine to move through these different aspects, right? It might be calls, it might
Yeah,
be anything, friends, it might be training. Like, how do I move through the world with a routine for everything in different ways, right? Just using your tools mostly.
nice, awesome. That sounds good. Sweet. Okay. Yeah, mate, that's great. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you, man.